Welcome back, everyone. And we've got a fantastic panel discussion coming up. So, with Amazon and pizza delivery, we can now predict when our goods are going to come and even monitor the journey. But imagine a world where Amazon and pizza companies could predict any breakdown that would stop the goods from reaching on time. Now transpose that to maintenance in manufacturing. What if you could predict when something might give you trouble? Now, what would that be worth? Well, stay tuned for our panel discussion where co-convener of Integrate and the managing director at Heister Yale, Rajesh Wazarkar, will moderate a panel with Himanshu Zadav from Gendermark and Bipin Jirge from IFM Electronics on understanding the world of predictive maintenance. Rajesh, over to you.
Hello all, welcome to the panel discussion on world of predictive maintenance. Thank you for joining us on this Friday evening, and I sure hope that you will learn something new today during our panel discussions, as we have very eminent panel members representing companies from different continents here today. Before introducing the eminent panel, I would like to start introduction of myself first. I am Rajesh Wazarkar. I am Managing Director, India Operations for Heister Yale Lift Trucks India Private Limited. We are a subsidiary of US company Heister Yale Group. We design and manufacture material handling equipments like forklifts, warehouse equipments, and container handling equipments that are used on ports. Heister Yale Group is one of the leading providers of material handling equipments, and we sell our material handling equipments under Heister and Yale brand. We manufactured about 1 lakh forklifts in 2019, and we had turnover of about $3.4 billion in 2019. Before joining Heister and Yale, I worked at Cummins, both in India and US for 17 years. I'm a mechanical engineer from College of Engineering, Pune, and I have also done my MBA. I am associated with Indo-American Chamber of Commerce for last few years, and I was past chairman for Pune branch. I am also co-convener for Integrate, and I'm going to be the moderator for this session. Now, let me first introduce our first panelist, Mr. Bipin Jirge, who is the managing director for IMF Electronics. IMF Electronics is a subsidiary of a German company, and they are into sensors. Various types of sensors are manufactured by IMF Electronics, and they are present in about 95 countries with about 7,000 people, and they had a turnover of 1 billion in 2019. Bipin is a founder member of IMF Electronics in India, and he is based in Kolhapur, Maharashtra. Bipin is a mechanical engineer, and he has done his postgraduate education at VZTI Mumbai as well as in Germany. As we all know, Industry 4.0 actually started in Germany, so I am happy to have a German company representation on our panel. Welcome, Bipin, to our panel. Bipin, do you have to add any additional thing about yourself or your company?
Thank you very much, Rajesh. It's a great pleasure to share ideas and learnings with the audience today. I think from my side, you have given enough introduction, so let's proceed. Thank you very much, Rajesh.
Now I welcome our second panelist, Mr. Himanshu Zadav, who is the CEO and Director of Gendermark Automation India Private Limited. Gendermark Automation is a subsidiary of Gendermark South Africa. Gendermark Automation has a long experience with European countries and brings this experience as well as latest Industry 4.0 technologies to India. Gendermark India supplies to primarily to automotive sector as well as specializes in aerospace industry. Himanshu joined Tata Car Project in 2004 as Technical Services Planning Department, and he was involved in new product launches and capacity expansion projects. In 2008, he got opportunity to work with Volkswagen, which was a greenfield project, and he excelled there and climbed the management ladder to 2016. In 2016, Himanshu joined Gendamark as a global sales manager, and in 2018, he became director and CEO for Gendamark India. Gendamark is growing rapidly under Himanshu's leadership, and I welcome Himanshu to this panel discussion. And Himanshu, do you want to add anything?
Thank you very much, Rajesh, for the wonderful introduction, and welcome everyone to Integrate. I would like to thank IISc again for hosting this event. Gendamark, speaking about Gendamark is driven by its slogan, passionate about technology and focused on people. For us, technology and people go hand in hand. We have been pioneers in the catalytic converter business and the EV business since quite a few years now. And recently, we have forayed into the digital services department, making a one-stop solution for our customers and providing them end-to-end solutions to achieve their digital transformation. So be it sensors, to be it software, Gendamark does it all. Thank you very much, and I look forward to this interesting panel discussion with Bipin and Rajesh.
Thank you, Himanshu. As you might have already realized, we have a very diverse panel. Company represented by Germany, then South Africa, and I'm representing a US company. And all the panelists have a lot of experience. So as Himanshu said, I'm also expecting a very interesting panel discussion. Now, Industry 4.0 is a very favorite topic of the maintenance community, and it is being discussed in various forums. Yet, the discussion is full of buzzwords and short of real solutions. So our intent in today's panel discussion is to understand predictive maintenance in simple words. And also, if some of our colleagues would like to start their journey on predictive maintenance, what easy steps they can do. So this would be our, I think, the aim. And with that, I will start with my first question to Bipin. Bipin, I think we have been, as we said, predictive maintenance is our topic. So I would like to ask you, what do you understand by predictive maintenance?
See, basically, predictive maintenance, there are a couple of concepts in the maintenance world. One is a breakdown maintenance. You start maintenance when the machine or equipment shows a damage level, which can be felt by the operator or by the QC person. And second is also a well-known concept, which we call all as a preventive maintenance. It's a time-based maintenance where you do certain things after a certain time. Like for example, you change the engine oil of the car every 15,000 kilometers nowadays. Something like that we do for the machine. Predictive maintenance is something relatively new, although nowadays many people in the industry know this. This is basically a maintenance schedule which is forecasted and planned depending on the trend monitoring of the critical parameters of the machine. That means we monitor the trend of critical parameters of a certain machine parameter. For example, we monitor vibration of a spindle bearing, for example, in case of a, say, milling machine. And when we notice certain change that the vibration, apart from cutting operations, when the machine is not cutting, when the vibration of a spindle bearing in non-cutting time tend to increase beyond a certain level, and this trend we notice it for a couple of hours, and if it goes like this, we know that maybe in 3 weeks time we may have a bearing damage. So this tracking of the trend and planning the maintenance schedule is generally understood as predictive maintenance. In any machine, when we commission the machine, yeah, we make it into use or production time, and depending on the use of the machine, the kind of machine, the machine may typically last for 5 years, and many of these big heavy machines, they last up to 30 years. During these 30 years or 20 years of operating time, we need to certainly maintain the machine. And if a part wears out during this use of the machine, it gives some warning signals like vibration increase, temperature increase, something like that. And if we monitor the trend of that parameter, we should be able to predict that within certain time down the line, we may have a breakdown, which is wanted by nobody basically. So nowadays, this predictive maintenance is having a big significance when we want to have practically zero breakdown, yeah, which is an impossible task, of course, but we want to achieve that as a target. And the best tool available today is to mount certain devices, sensors or something like that on the machine, and monitor also the trend of those parameters with certain systems, maybe a kind of say IoT device or kind of server based systems, kind of PLC, or the machine itself. So this is what is basically done in the predictive maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you, Bipin, for explaining the predictive maintenance in very simple words. Himanshu, do you have any additional thoughts?
I think Bipin really summarized his vast years of experience in a very short time, in a very correct method. For us as a automation or a machine manufacturing company, we treat maintenance very seriously. Maintenance has been in existence ever since machines were invented. In the past, businesses reacted to breakdowns in a very reactive way, which means when there was a breakdown, then there was a series of actions were initiated, and it took a lot of time to reach a conclusion or a solution to restart the machines again. This obviously led to a lot of production losses and a lot of downtimes, loss of revenue. Now, to reduce these inefficiencies, reactive maintenance has now been replaced or is getting replaced with what we term as predictive maintenance. It's a smarter way of doing maintenance proactively. So by using sensors, softwares, IoT devices, as Bipin mentioned, we are able to now give early warning as an early indication to avoid the breakdown. Of course, we can't 100% avoid the breakdown. We all know that. But if we can even reach around 90-95% of avoiding breakdowns, which is possible by using the right process and right hardware and software, I think predictive maintenance is going to be a game changer for most industries.
Thank you, Himanshu and Bipin. Now, I think you explained predictive maintenance in very simple words. Now, when it comes to really manufacturing industry, how this predictive maintenance can be applied? Maybe Bipin, with your experience, if you can start with you, how can we apply this predictive maintenance to manufacturing industries?
See, what we have gathered from experienced people in the manufacturing world, because they are the best people to tell us, the best way is to use some feedback elements and get the feedback regarding operating conditions of the machine, and accordingly then plan the maintenance. Yeah, like in a manufacturing world, everybody nowadays has machines, and practically every machine has a motor or a spindle or a hydraulic power pack, something like that. So the best example is if you use a vibration sensor on a motor and monitor the bearing vibrations, and change the motor bearings only when the vibrations go beyond a certain limit and the trend is increasing within certain say number of hours, then only we change the motor bearing, not every year or every operating number of years. So this is say one of the simplest example of predictive maintenance being applied in a manufacturing world. Thank you, Raj.
Himanshu, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I personally feel that in addition to adding sensors to a machine, I think the entire process of maintenance needs to be made smarter. In my opinion, the whole ecosystem, which includes man and machine, both need upliftment. We have embraced the digital and the IoT or the Internet of Things side very easily and very rapidly in our personal and social lives. But somehow, when it comes to industry, we are reluctant to introduce the same concepts and the same ideas in production. And I think that's the reason why IIoT or Industrial Internet of Things is still lagging behind. I think one of the main reasons why it is so is because it is not explained yet to everyone in a very simple and easy to understand language. Uh, with this mindset, we actually went about in Gendamark creating our own ecosystem called the Odin ecosystem, which is trying to bring analogies of our social personal life into the industry. For example, we are so used to now scheduling meetings using Outlook calendars, getting reminders on our phone of our office regular office work, but the same technology is not used. Whereas we are using the same technology now for maintenance using our Odin service solution. We are used to taking images and sending them on WhatsApp and Snapchat to communicate our emotions to so many individuals, and we use the same concept now in Odin. So we are communicating humanly to other humans as well as automatically. I think another simple example would be in the pandemic now that we are all facing. We have embraced the idea of scanning a barcode at a restaurant, ordering the food which we like, in fact, paying the bills as well using your phone. And accessing all that you want to eat, the menu card, everything on your phone. And now we use the same analogy and developed Odin documentation, which is scanning a barcode on a machine and getting access to the entire documentation of the machine, be it the e-plan, the troubleshooting manuals, the to-do things of a machine, regular TPM activities, calibration reports and records. So every document which is required for effective maintenance and a predictive maintenance is now available on the machine and not in a drawer or a shelf lying somewhere. So just to summarize, for us, we look at it as a bit holistically. Yes, we need hardware and software, but we also need to consider the whole ecosystem while considering any predictive maintenance solution.
Yes. Thank you, Himanshu. Very well said. And I think, as you rightly said, this pandemic um, has changed the world, and digitization is becoming more common now. So I think after listening to both of you, I remembered my 25 years old experience when I was at Cummins. At that time, we had one very experienced test operator, and he was very expert. And we used to depend on his expertise to decide what is the issue to do with the engine. So his sensors at that time were his ears and hands. So he used to touch various components to see the vibration. He used to listen the engine noise. Then he used to also judge the temperature. And based on his human kind of a sensors, he used to tell us what needs to be done. Now, I think listening to you, I think it is clear that gone are the days, and lot of technological advancement has happened, and now we are more depending on sensors and technology rather than human skill currently in the maintenance. So I think thank you for that. Now the third question, uh, Himanshu, I know your company has a lot of experience in developed countries like Europe, as well as you have been working in India and South Africa, who are still kind of emerging. So, what is the main difference from your perspective in predictive maintenance being done in developed economies versus emerging economies?
That's a very interesting question, Rajesh. For that, I would like to present one slide which we actually presented also in United Nations a couple of years back when we were invited there to talk about something similar. So I think what is the main difference is our social economic differences. But before I go to the social economic differences, I think we must just go back a bit to understand where did the term Industry 4.0 get coined. And it goes back to 2011 when the German government commissioned another high strategy meet several OEMs in Germany to bring computerization into manufacturing. That was done because the German government understood that there are some issues on the social side which they are facing, which needed urgent attention. And one of the key issues which was discussed was the diminishing population of the working class. Now, if you see my graph on the right side, I have shown a graph of the developed countries population and the developing countries population. At the bottom, you will see that in the developed countries, the number of people coming into the coming into the working class is diminishing, which means they will have less population in the coming decade. And whereas on the right hand side, on the developing economy, you will see that there's a huge population coming across from the into the working class. Now, this primarily suggests that there should be a different approach to solve our issues, as well as the issues on the left side, which are literacy. Our literacy rate is not as high as a developed economy. We have huge diversity in the languages that we speak. Our per capita income is less. Crime and corruption is higher. Our healthcare is not at par with the developed economies. So considering these, we feel in GenderMark definitely that we have to have a different set of solutions to our problems. And hence we started developing our ecosystem, which is more human centric, which means we keep the human at the center of the Industry 4.0 revolution by relentlessly focusing on improving our human experiences, using a business model of shared value and economic ecosystems thinking. Basically, what we are trying to bring to the table for a developing economy like India is a mixture where the human experience, the human element goes hand in hand with what the technology in terms of sensors and softwares are getting developed and getting used. So we have to mix and match and pick the right thing for our kind of economic situation.
Thank you, Himanshu. I think you have brought a very good and important perspective to Industry 4.0. Yes, demographics plays a very important role to decide how Industry 4.0 can be implemented by different countries based on their demography. And I think your human-centric approach makes a lot of sense, certainly. Now, Bipin, do you have anything to add here?
I think what Himanshu has expressed is very important factors, because human factor is very important for any, say, productivity improvement tool, and only sensors and IT and all those hardware is actually of no use if the humans are not convinced enough and skilled enough to take care of all this technology.
Good. I think that, yeah.
So very good point made by Himanshu, Rajesh.
Right. Okay, good. Now, Himanshu, I think taking the clue on this, do you think can the software-based predictive maintenance replace human element in the predictive maintenance?
I think humans have to be on core. Humans have to be at the core. The sensors and softwares will make the process of predictive maintenance more efficient, robust, and almost error-free. But unfortunately, the intelligence, the ability to do several permutation combinations, the ability to foresee and forecast several situations, it is it seems at this point quite far-fetched to replace a human 100%. I think more than replacing humans, we should think of making the human process more efficient, to make it more error-free, and to try and eliminate the sentence to err is human, to take out that factor which causes a human to err. Could be whatever, could be a software, could be a sensor, a solution. And I think that's what we did at GenderMark when we were already OT, we were having operations technology experience, building machines, building robots, SPMs, everything worldwide. But we realized that a lot of hardware is available in the IT side, a lot of software is available, but the confluence or the convergence was not happening, and that's because both worlds were not understanding each other's exact requirements. Having said that, that's where we jumped in and said, okay, we will start from scratch, which means we will develop a completely new ecosystem, which is what we believe in, and which is what I explained before, a human-centric approach. So we developed hardware, we developed softwares, which go hand in hand with the human element of the predictive maintenance, and give a complete overview to the management to take conscious, good decisions considering the information coming to them from the human side and from the sensor side. And I think that's our thought process, that one shoe doesn't fit all, as we all know. So we try to bring in not just the maintenance, but we have tried to bring in different elements of a production environment on a larger perspective into the process of increasing the productivity. The bottom line for all of us, we all believe is what is the value add? What is the value add proposition that any element you add into a production environment today, which is extremely cost competitive? What is the value add proposition to it? And I think we believe in India at least, it has to be a value add in terms of adding sensors, softwares, and adding human interface to make it more efficient. So some of our softwares which we have developed are actually independent of machines. These are softwares and solutions developed for the human element of it, which means we have made softwares which a maintenance technician can use to make his day-to-day life, his day-to-day activity of maintaining machines, carrying out preventive maintenance, predictive maintenance, a lot more easier without the software. So the software actually enhance his experience.
Yeah, I think good. Thank you, Himanshu. Bipin, do you have any thoughts?
Completely software-based predictive maintenance and removing the human element completely is still yet to come, I think. Yeah. But sensors, systems, and software can give a fairly, say, close prediction of the failure. And that's mainly because sensors and all those software hardware can monitor the system 24/7 in real time, with no fatigue element built in. We all humans, we can't do 24/7 the same job with equal efficiency, but hardware and a software can do that very well. So that's one reason why, they can come fairly close, and humans are supposed to be, give a good logical judgment, but not good in memory. Whereas the hardware can take care of that part. They can memorize for last 3 years of history of a machine. Yeah? So that's a big difference between the systems and humans.
Yeah, good. I think very good analogy, Bipin. And I think yes. So these softwares they are in support for humans to do the job more proactively and more productively or more efficiently, maybe. So human, as Himanshu, you say, humans are at core, which is, I think, Bipin is also reiterating that. So thank you all. I think both of you, and so far we have been discussing about shop floor machines. But this predictive maintenance is also used on industrial and construction equipments as well. As I mentioned earlier, our company manufactures forklifts, and I will briefly share with you how this concept can be used in industrial equipments or forklifts in the case in this point. So currently the forklifts are becoming very advanced, and these forklifts come with a lot of sensors inbuilt. However, there are options to have ordered the forklift with additional sensors with telematics. So this telematics transfers the data that is collected by sensors through wireless data connection to a central database or server. Now the data that is coming from various sensors and controllers of the engines and transmissions, that can be analyzed, and then that data can be made available to the operators and maintenance staff either on their PCs or their mobile devices and things like that. Now this telematics can do lot of functions, but however I'll just cover a couple of them, as I think it may be difficult to read, but this mentions as a PM tracker, which means preventive maintenance tracker, and the data that is transmitted also includes number of hours clocked by the forklift every day. If preventive maintenance is to be scheduled at after 1,000 hours, you say, then it will start sending alerts when it reaches the 1,000 hours. Like we get reminders in our Outlook, similarly the maintenance staff will get reminders that for this particular asset, the preventive maintenance is due on this date. And so Yale Vision will continue to send reminders to that effect. Another function is that it sends the fault codes. So fault codes are nothing but, say example, if the coolant temperature is high or coolant level is low. So such fault codes data is also collected in the telemetry, and those fault codes can be analyzed using machine learning algorithms to predict when the failures may happen, and then it can be used to schedule the maintenance. So, so I think both these telematics like a thing can help both preventive maintenance as well as predictive maintenance. And this usage of these options of telematics is very high in US and Europe, whereas in emerging economies like India, it is not that popular. People still are depending on humans and their memories. So I think I just wanted to give perspective to the industrial machinery when we are talking about this as well. Now, we have discussed a lot. So now, Himanshu, what do you think? What would be the steps that you would suggest to the industries, those who want to start or implement the predictive maintenance?
Start simple. Use examples from your social life into the industry. You will be amazed to see how intelligent and smart our shop floor operators are when we explain to them solutions of Industry 4.0 in a language which they understand, and instead of using the Industry 4.0 buzzwords or jargons. Simple things of how to take a picture like you would share in a WhatsApp group. We have tried to do that with several industries, and now they have successfully started their journey of the digital transformation with this simple thought process. One of the examples and the easiest way to start is using Odin documentation or a documentation portal, which is what we do in most companies, is collect the documents, manuals, troubleshooting manuals, spare part list, everything whatever is required to maintain a machine effectively, collect them, structure them in a proper structured format, upload them on cloud, and give only a barcode to our customers to stick on the machines, and of course the app on his phone to access it when he requires it. So all they have to do, like you would do in a Paytm or a Google Pay, is scan a barcode on the machine, and it would immediately pop out the latest information, documentation, and you can type in there error code, and it would give you a list of possible solutions. I think that's the easiest way to start, and not try to scare someone by talking about very high-end technology, because I think people are still in the mindset and the transition where they still feel, because of the origin of the Industry 4.0 from Europe, that it is not for them. Whereas we strongly believe that if explained in a easier way, simple small steps, it's far more practical. You also don't need to wait for new machines. You can start with existing machines. Be ready with the Industry 4.0 or predictive maintenance solutions by testing them on your current machines, and then subsequently migrate to the higher end technology of Industry 4.0. So I think that's the and also, like Mr. Jirge also pointed out, Bipin pointed out as well, that basic sensors which collect feedback, vibrations, temperature, I think these are fantastic to use with software based predictive maintenance and analyzing. I think once you're comfortable with the idea of using internet in manufacturing world, everything is possible then. So start simple and see the results. That would be my simple advice to everyone in the industry.
Thank you, Himanshu. I think Bipin, I know you interact with many SMEs, and based on your interactions with SMEs, what do you hear from them, and do you have any additional input on this?
Thank you, Rajesh. Like Himanshu has already suggested, start simple, basically. SMEs especially should start by sensing few parameters. For example, only motor temperature or spindle vibration on one of their machines, not 5 of their machines, or together parallelly, they should try to capture when the machine was switched on, when the cutting was on, and when the cutting was off. Spindle on time, basically. By simply analyzing these simple to sense things, they can have a good amount of insight of what is going on my machine in that 8 hours of shift, so that they can also see the kind of insights what relates to directly to the productivity of the machine. Out of 8 hours, if my spindle is working only for 3.5 hours, that means I need to improve something. Yeah, that's very easy thing. Any simple production supervisor will surely notice immediately. If my temperature of the motor is steady at 55 degrees for all those say months, and suddenly today it is becoming 65, oh, that means something needs to be done there. So this is a kind of habit which we can give us at a very, very reasonable entry level, say, price point, and building this habit of getting deep into this kind of simple signals on one of their machines and learning how to read the data. It's like, trying to use a stethoscope on a machine. Yeah, a doctor uses all the time, but we never use it. So if we try to use these kind of things at a stethoscopes on the machine and trying to figure out when and how things are going in a not normal way, we can be, on the way to the first step of this big concept called Industry 4. Yeah, it's a first step, very simple. Yeah, and then parallelly, we can build a skill set of how to look into these kind of parameters in our own house, in our own production shop. And once the people on the shop floor learn how to use and interpret this data, I think they will only teach us how better it can be. Yeah, it will come from the bottom. They will improve the system themselves rather than coming from the management or something.
Correct.
Exactly.
Exactly. I think very, very, very good input, Bipin. Now, I think the time has come to conclude the panel discussion so that we can take some questions. I think both of you have given very simple definitions of predictive maintenance. And if I have to summarize, predictive maintenance is a method of preventing failures of expensive assets by analyzing the data throughout the production to pinpoint unusual behaviors ahead of time. This will help overall to reduce the machine uptime, machine breakdowns, and improve uptime. Um, uptime. Now, I think I would like to share a last slide, which I just prepared based on whatever is your input, so that our um, participants can gain some steps. I think both of you mentioned that we should start small. So I think these are some of the suggested steps if somebody wants to start their predictive maintenance journey. So start small means I think you should try to do some pilot or proof of concept, you can say. As Bipin mentioned, you identify one or two important equipments and what are the critical parameters that we need to monitor. Then second step is I think define KPIs or what are the condition based maintenance parameters that we want to maintain. And then as mentioned by both of them, I think getting stakeholders buy-in or operators buy-in is very important. So you work with them to get that buy-in and then define a plan to collect those parameters by sensors or whatever means it is. Then once the data is collected, analyze that data, try to analyze data. You can, I think your companies may have your own expertise to make some algorithms yourselves, or there are many softwares available already. Computerized maintenance management softwares are available in the market. You can decide to use one of them, and based on these pilot, I think you can learn from this pilot to decide company-wide implementation. So these can be the simple steps as mentioned by both of our experts. I think with that, I would like to thank all our panelists. Thank you, Bipin and Himanshu, for your sharing your knowledge. And thank you, unless you want to have some last minute comments.
I think we'll wait for the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Bipin. Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Rajesh, Himanshu, and Bipin. Can I get you all to turn your cameras on now? Rajesh, thank you for that great summary of the entire presentation. That was really useful. So now that I've got you all live, I just want to ask you something very quickly. How many companies do you think are doing predictive maintenance at the moment in India? Let's start with Himanshu. What do you think? Oh, you're on mute, I think.
Yes. I don't think so. There are many companies who are doing predictive maintenance, honestly, in the real sense.
Right.
I think it's still a matter of us accepting that predictive maintenance is actually going to be useful for us and not just reactive maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Rajesh?
I think I don't know about the manufacturing industries, but I can talk about industrial equipment like forklifts. And forklifts, I think in Western world like US or Western Europe, I think 30 to 40% of the forklifts go with telematics, which can be used for fleet management as well as predictive maintenance. Not all of them use it for predictive maintenance. In India, it is just merely couple of percent. So it is very low, as Himanshu said. I think very few people are using predictive maintenance in the forklift industry, I would say.
Okay, and Bipin?
As far as big industrial houses are concerned, they are putting systems in place for predictive maintenance for last couple of years. But most of the other small medium sector is all traditional way maintenance. That's kind of time based or breakdown maintenance. There's a huge potential to improve the productivity in that respect across the industry, I think.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so one lesson, putting you on the spot here, one lesson that you would ask SMEs and companies to think about when it comes to predictive maintenance, one piece of advice you'd give them, especially if they're feeling uncomfortable about doing it, what would you say, Himanshu?
Like I mentioned in our chat, if you believe the Amazon guy delivering you and the pizza getting delivered to you on your phone, you can very well start believing the sensors and the software delivering you the right
Yeah.
information to take actions. I think it's a matter of mindset. We have to start believing the information coming to us, and I think that will
Mindset.
start the trend. Yes, it's mindset thing.
Great. Rajesh?
I think it is companies should start considering this as an investment rather than a
Yeah.
cost. I think
Right.
that again, as Simon said, that is a mindset change. And if we
Yeah.
did do that and actually start measuring the breakdown time or uptime, they will see that investment in this predictive maintenance is relatively very low as compared to the savings that they can get.
Right. Got it. Bipin?
It's very, very logical. If a small and medium company can start measuring only the temperature of one motor in their shaft, in the shop floor, and uptrain their people, develop the skill to look at this kind of simple graph and start from one motor to monitor the temperature. I think that's a start on the long way to Industry 4. Start very
Okay.
simple, very big, but that's a foundation.
Okay. So start simple, change your mindset. All right. Thank you so much to Himanshu, Rajesh, and Bipin. As a token of our appreciation, we're going to plant a tree on your behalf at the Basi Wildlife Sanctuary in Rajasthan. And the certificate is for the virtual certificate that's just come up, is for this tree plantation. So thank you very much to all three of you, and Rajesh particularly, thank you because you've been so instrumental in Integrate 2021, and we all appreciate it. Everyone else, we'll see you after the break for our closing panel on accelerating Indo-American business opportunities. This is the last chance for you to get your photo taken at the photo booth, also to vote in the polls, and remember you can ask some questions. See you on the other side of the break, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vandana.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Himanshu.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you.